Hello, welcome to DataSunrise demo. In this demo, we'll talk about a feature called encrypting dictionary and audit storage. Dictionary is a configuration database. This is an external database shared between different nodes of DataSunrise cluster. And also, the audit storage is a storage of your actual data, which you can collect from your triggered rules and so on and so forth. Right, so you can encrypt some data which is sensitive part, right? For example, query results in the audit storage, they can be can contain some sensitive information if data is not masked dynamically, for example, stuff like that. So DataSunrise can provide you with such a feature to encrypt some columns in the tables of the audit storage and the dictionary database. Well, how to configure that? Let's take a look. First, we can check our documentation and the user guide. When we open this user guide on this section, encrypting audit storage and encrypting the dictionary, we can notice that DataSunrise at the moment supports PostgreSQL database engine and so-called PG crypto module of the PostgreSQL database to encrypt some part of the data of the databases. So it means that we need to enable this module or make sure that this module already is there and enabled. So we can copy this command right from here and paste into the DBA tool like I have dbeaver. So I can paste it here, and having all the required privileges, I can execute this command. In my PostgreSQL database, I use to keep my audit and my dictionary database. So please take a look here that we have DataSunrise Audit 2 and DataSunrise Dic 2 or dictionary databases. But for the entire database instance, we need to enable this extension. Right? So let's execute it. And it's okay, it's already enabled. Okay. DataSunrise can use this module now. So this is the step number one. Again, please bear in mind that your dictionary and your audit storage databases both should be already there in the PostgreSQL database instance and keep the data in there. But in order to configure DataSunrise to use the audit storage, we have to remember that the encrypting process, encryption itself, is irreversible for DataSunrise itself. So once encrypted, the data in the audit storage, in particular columns which keep the sensitive information, will be irreversibly encrypted. But with the password you can provide for this PG crypto module. And the same is for the dictionary database which DataSunrise uses. The same as encryption is irreversible. And these two databases should already be configured and used by DataSunrise instance or instance if you have a high availability mode of DataSunrise. Now, what should we do next? So the manual says that we need to check this value in DataSunrise additional parameters. So I've copied this value right from audit PG SQL use load parameter. And we have to disable this parameter because this is a specific way to upload data to the audit storage. Okay. When we'll use the encryption or encrypting the process, then we need to disable this option. So we go to the additional parameters and we'll paste here my value. Right? It's enabled by default, because DataSunrise by default uses unencrypted data, unencrypted values in the dictionary audit databases, right? And we need to apply it. And once configured, DataSunrise requires from you to restart the core process. Please be in mind that you can do it later if you want to do it when the proxy should be unavailable, maybe for some moment, to restart for some seconds actually. But in my case, I can restart because it's a test environment. I can do it another time if necessary. Again, when you restarted the core process for the proxy of DataSunrise for my MariaDB will use the new parameter. Now, we have two conditions done, right? One of them is we enable the pgcrypt module, the PostgreSQL database. We have two databases created in this PostgreSQL database instance. And also we configured the DataSunrise to use these databases, one for the Audit storage, another for the dictionary. And the only thing is missing now, since we already disabled a specific parameter and additional parameter, we need to enable the encrypting itself. It will be transparent encrypting process. First, I will show you how you can configure the encrypting of the Audit storage. So the Audit storage, it's recommended that the Audit storage should be cleaned, right? And when you want to do that, please bear in mind that if you clean the data out of the Audit storage, the DataSunrise will purge the entire Audit storage database. So that's why it's advised to do it at the initial stage of the production or the POC process if you want to test this feature, right? So first of all, I'm going to clean all tables with the delete operation. It's by default the option. Now the Audit storage has been cleaned now, and now I can enable my DataSunrise encryption, right, for the Audit storage, right, what we see here. The key storage can be in different places like CyberArk, AWS Secret Manager, Azure Key Storage, and for each of these parameters, for each value selected from the drop-down box, you will see the different parameters, right, to take the data, to take the value of this password from the CyberArk maybe, or from the Azure, from AWS Secret Manager. In my case, I will use a simple method to keep it in the DS dictionary. And in this case, I need to provide a key, not to extract it from my secret storage, right? Storage for secrets. But I will use my key. Well, and there are some requirements. And we can see that DataSunrise explains us that it will use different functions of PostgreSQL database and pgcrypt module. Now let's enable it. Now it's irreversible, and DataSunrise asks us to confirm, right? Now it's very interesting that since this moment, every operation that comes from DataSunrise instances that keeps the SQL data or the data from the saved, right, query results, for example, it will be encrypted. And we can check it by first executing some queries through DataSunrise. So DataSunrise will use so-called audit module, audit rule here. And I will execute some DML statements for my MariaDB through the proxy mode of DataSunrise. DataSunrise will intercept the query and will intercept the query results and will save it into the Audit storage of DataSunrise. So DataSunrise will save it. But the query itself and the query results now should be encrypted in the Audit storage. Nobody will be able to see, even having all the grants, all the read and write privileges, not be able to see the actual values unless the DataSunrise will use the encryption module and will decrypt it, for example, to see the data under the transactional trails, right, of the menu item, right? Okay, now let's test this feature. So I switched to my debugger application and I connected to the MariaDB in the proxy mode of DataSunrise. So it means DataSunrise is the man in the middle between the MariaDB and my client application. When I will execute any query like select statement, DataSunrise will intercept that query, and using my audit rule I've configured, will see the query itself, and also I've checked in the checking box to save also query results. Now I'm going to view the data of this table. Okay, and DataSunrise immediately should save this information in the transactional trails. We'll navigate to that menu item here. So this is the rule. Now let's go to the transactional trails. Now we see this query is executed. We see MariaDB, and here is a query itself. Let's look inside. So ID 08. We see, okay, the query itself. The data is as it is, as we have seen in the Beaver application. Yes. So the person who will be able to see this information, right, the only one person who will be able to see unencrypted data, and also the person who received the data. But when DataSunrise saves the information in the Audit storage, it will look different. Now, let's turn our attention to the Audit storage of DataSunrise. If someone will possess, right, the privilege to connect to the Audit storage of DataSunrise and try to search for sensitive information there, well, it might contain sensitive information, right? Now let's go to the DataSunrise PostgreSQL database used, right? So I will navigate to my DS Audit 2 database, which is encrypted. Some values there is encrypted. For example, the sensitive information collected by DataSunrise is stored on the public schema, right? And the operations table. And one of these table and the columns is a SQL query, and also the operation data should be here. Operation data tables here. So when operation is completed, DataSunrise saves query results on the operation data. Now let's take a look at the operations itself. Let's view the data. So again, we connect to the Audit storage without any proxy, but directly, if any DBA team member has all the privileges to see that. So we see here something interesting. Yeah, we see the SQL query is encrypted. Now, how we can be sure that we really have our data result set is encrypted? Now, we can go to the operation data. This is a table that keeps the query results in DataSunrise Audit storage. And we select this data from here. And we see the data here is encrypted. DataSunrise uses PGCrypto module to encrypt the output from the database instance that passed through the DataSunrise. Now, this way we can configure and encrypt our Audit storage. But what about our dictionary or the configuration database stored in the PostgreSQL database? So how to encrypt DataSunrise dictionary? This is step number 1. So we've encrypted the Audit storage. I'm going to switch to my DataSunrise database instance. And here's the system settings and general. Under general, I choose advanced dictionary operation, and there's an encryption of dictionary. So I choose this encryption of dictionary, and it means I'm getting ready to encrypt the metadata stored in DataSunrise. So there are many options where to keep this secret key or password to encrypt the data in the DataSunrise instance. So in my case, I use this DS dictionary option. The more information you can find in our user guide, and I use my password I put here. So when I enable this, again, it's irreversible. You cannot reverse the encrypted information now. So it will going to stop. Yes, it will stop all the core processes and will update different data. For example, the metadata particular will be encrypted, like names of objects, columns, and tables. How we can check that DataSunrise encrypted the information? Okay, let's go back to our dbeaver. Now I switch back to my dbeaver application, and what particular tables we can check to make sure that we really have the data encrypted in our DataSunrise dictionary or the configuration storage. There are two tables with the data inside which definitely should be encrypted. For example, we'll start from DB objects table in our DSDIC database. This is the database I'm using for my DataSunrise instance. So if I'll retrieve the data from there, it should be here, from DB objects, then I will see the data is encrypted here. The name is encrypted, and this is most vital information like table names, for example, right? But what if we want to see that maybe the column names are not encrypted? Column names are stored under DB and sub items. Here there is view data, and we see the name column is encrypted. But DataSunrise encrypts and decrypts everything transparently by using PG crypto module, and in this case, the data itself even accessed with all privileges like Postgres user. In my case, it's encrypted. So we see that DataSunrise has two features which allows you and enables you to encrypt Audit storage data and also the dictionary database, which DataSunrise uses for keeping the object items like column names and also table names encrypted. Okay, thank you for watching.